violence.
Yeah, it sounds like this was a very horrible time to live in Japan.
Yeah. Right, I had, like, no idea about this stuff. I don't really look at history, but, like, it seems like a long time was not a good time to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the largest group in the nation at that time, I'm not sure if it's true anymore, but it was called Yamaguchi-gumi. But they wanted the whole country under their own control, apparently. So they started fighting the other, like, more regional Yakuza groups to, like, kick them out and become the one Yakuza group, I guess. Wars.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's pretty common with gangs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Corporates coming in and taking over.
Yeah. But some of these were shootouts, like, in broad daylight in public spaces, though. So, like, involved civilians. I guess that happens here, too.
Yeah, but that's, like, very not what I would expect from Japan.
Right. Yeah, usually that's hidden.
Yeah, they don't talk about this because that's their... Like, we don't know this because they don't want us to know this.
Right. Yeah, they need to keep a good exterior.
Right.
But internally, yeah, all this is happening. The outsiders maybe wouldn't know. But yeah, because this was, like I said, 62 to 64. 1964 was the Tokyo Olympics, so they had a lot of foreigners there. So I'm like, did it stop right before the Olympics, or was, like, this going on still during the Olympics?
Oh my god.
But also, fun fact number 3, they had a Japanese athlete light the torch for the Olympics that was born in Hiroshima on the day of the bomb drop.
That is such a, like, slay, like, a statement, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was so cool.
We survived. Yeah, that's
right.
Really cool.
Yeah. And also, like, having the Olympics at Tokyo, like, not even 20 years later, like, was a huge turning point for Japan. Because, like, parts of Tokyo post-war were in rubble as well. So they had to clean all of that up and get it ready for an Olympics in 20 years.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and like, people who visited, like, complimented their efficiency, modernity, and friendliness. So, like, this was a huge step in changing, like, foreign people's views on Japanese people.
I can imagine. I was also thinking, like, in my mind, they seem extremely, like, efficient. And, like, I think of, like, Toyota and, like, quality stuff. But, like, I guess if everything's destroyed, you have no choice but to build it better, or, like, you get the opportunity to build it better when a lot of other places just stick with the systems they have in place.
Right. Yeah, because, like, they had Olympics there and, like, the city wasn't destroyed like all these other Olympic villages too in other countries, right? Because some countries just abandon it and that's just empty space there,
right?
But, like, this was in Tokyo. I'm not exactly sure where in Tokyo, but I don't think the whole place where it was is abandoned. They don't have room for that to be abandoned.
Right, yeah, they can't just be like, yeah, well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I would say it goes with, like, the gambate, like, just do it, get it done kind of thing. Like, do your best. So, yeah. And also, I just didn't, like, I realized they already had it in Tokyo before, but, like, it's kind of crazy that the Olympics for then was supposed to be 1940, but it had to be pushed back because of the war.
Until 64?
Yeah. Well, if they wanted it, I mean, they had to rebuild and stuff. But then also, like, the last one that was supposed to be, it was pushed back because of COVID, so it's just sad that it keeps happening. But
I feel like they would do it right, too. It wouldn't be like, what was the one? I feel like the last few have been really scandalous, like, all this stuff that shouldn't have happened.
Oh, yeah. What were the last ones?
Like, Rio
was, like, I heard, was really bad.
And I think there was issues with Sochi, too, in Russia.
Oh, yeah. I remember
that being so scandalous.
Really, yeah. Wasn't a lot of the Russians, like, doping still or whatever, and they were disqualified during their own...
Yeah, and I think they did try to do Winter Olympics in a place where it wasn't cold. If I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah.
It was like 60 degrees.
Oh my god. Yeah, did they have to, like, make snow and, like, put it out there?
Putin really likes Sochi.
I could see that happening. But yeah, after the Olympics, I'd say like a lot of people are like kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like they're seeing how Japan could be post-war. So like I feel like a lot of people are hopeful. But then 4 years later, 1968, there's the Shinjuku riot, which is a clash between police and anti-Vietnam War protesters. Like I didn't really realize they protested Vietnam so much, but they're right next to them, so.
Right. We protested Vietnam a lot. So I would have to imagine, especially if we're relying on, or they're relying on our military.
Right.
And our military's doing that.
Right.
I don't know if I'd be happy.
Right. I heard there were like 2 million people across the country protesting in Japan. But the Shinjuku riot obviously didn't have that many people, but.
Do they have like a protest culture? Like in France, everyone protests everything. I feel like Japan is not like that.
Yeah, I feel like Japan's not, but I'm wondering if that's because, again, we're like outsiders. Because when I studied abroad there, I actually did see like a lot of protesters outside of a government building, but I don't know what they were like protesting or anything. But like I feel like maybe they do protest because they have like unions.
Oh, so yeah, they must.
Yeah, I probably just don't talk about it outside of Japan. I mean, we don't hear anything.
They really don't talk about it there either. They're just like,
yeah, if you're in the know.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Like,
yeah, I could see that. Or like, yeah, if you're part of it, you're going to know. If you're not part of it, then it doesn't really involve you. Right. I guess is how maybe. But yeah, and then 1974, a bomb was planted at the Mitsubishi headquarters. So this is 10 years before the Glico case starts. But they're at a different company, like a bomb's planted there, followed by other bombs elsewhere from an anti-Japanese terrorism group.
Oh.
So they're called the Wolf, in quotes, but East Asia Anti-Japanese Armed Front Terrorist Group. I don't know why it needs to be so long, but... But yeah, it's kind of like, okay, that's 10 years before. Maybe they had something to do with the case. We'll get into it. But no one really talks about that. But yeah, then like the high economic growth that started in 55 starts ending in 75. So they're heading into recession then. So 1 million people are unemployed in 75 and companies are going bankrupt like everywhere during that time.
That's never good either.
No, like a lot of people are probably disgruntled too, like leading up to this.
Yeah. And when big companies, like they probably laid people off. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, this leads to what could be maybe considered the start of the Glico-Morinaga case. So like the actual case events were 1984 to 1985, but there were a couple interesting things with Glico that happened a few years prior that could serve as a motive. So 77 to 78, starch and other liquid waste from a Glico food processing plant polluted nearby rivers and clogged up drains, causing a nasty odor, and residents obviously complained about that. And as a result, protests were organized to call for improvements and demand compensation for damages, which Glico tried to deny, like every other company. Like we see every time. Yeah.
Right. So I think they did end up having to pay damages. I didn't really look at how much they had to do, but this was a big deal. And then also in 78, a blackmail tape is sent to a Glico board member. And at that time, Glico was also caught up in a labor dispute, which was a conflict over relocating workers in a Kyoto factory. So there's disgruntled employees too.
This is like Karen Silkwood, but
I know.
The opposite. It ended opposite.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Just at the root of all of these is just companies doing bad.
Yeah, evil.
And trying to cover it up.
Right.
Yeah. So 1979, again, Glico had a disagreement with the labor union over a personnel reshuffle. So yeah, this leads to the start of the case, March 18th, 1984, 9 p.m. Katsuhisa Izaki, who is Glico's president, is abducted from his home. So this is from the book, but it said 2 men wearing ski masks and armed with a gun and a rifle enter the residence of Miyazaki Glico, president of Glico. To be able to enter his residence, they first went to the house next door, which was his mother's house. And they tied her up and took the spare key to Izaki's house. Which is like, how did they know that that was his mom's house and that she had a spare key?
Right.
Yeah. So then when they enter his house, they went straight upstairs to where his wife and daughter were watching TV and tied them up. And thinking that they're robbers, Izaki's wife begged to be let go with her daughter, saying they could take like as much money as they wanted. And they replied with, "We don't need money."
Oh. Oh my god. That'd be so scary. That's the last thing you want to hear.
Right.
So you know it's personal.
So it's kind of like, yeah, what's this about? Like about the labor disputes or like who is this? But yeah, then they cut the telephone line. And they went to the bathroom where Izaki and his 2 other children were taking a bath. And they told them to be... yeah, so in Japanese culture, I feel like I should have said this too. Like, they have like a... It's kind of like the hot springs, but like in your house, you could have like a soaking
big
tub.
Old tub. Okay.
Yeah. Because normally you take a shower to actually get clean, and then you take a bath to like relax.
Like more like a hot tub at like a resort.
Yeah, but like in your home.
But not as
and like
big. Yeah, okay.
You're gonna like have baths with your kids and stuff. That's just how the yeah. So it's more relaxing or whatever. But yeah, I should have said that earlier. But yeah, they told them to be quiet, but Izaki started to call for help, which they then said, "Shut up or we'll shoot." Which obviously, but then they took him out of the bath and they took him away, I think naked. And then they held him for ransom in a riverside warehouse on the outskirts of Osaka for 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold, which is 220 pounds of gold. And a billion yen, just take off 2 zeros for yen for dollar, approximate dollar amount. So what's that?
100 million? Wait.
2 zeros. 10
million?
Yeah, $10 million. So, yeah, 3 days later, though, he's able to free himself, and police found him. So, like, what I could find, the kidnappers had left the warehouse that day and had left Izaki in, like, loosely tied rope. Like, they retied his restraints, and it was very loose, and he was able to escape from that.
Did they do it on purpose?
That's what I'm wondering. Because
why would they, like, if they're leaving... and they actually want to keep him tied up, wouldn't they make sure it was tight when he had every opportunity? Like, he could mess around for hours squirming to get out.
Yeah, and I also heard from different areas, like, things that I looked up, that they had, like, redressed him a little bit before they tied him up loosely. So like, they were preparing. Yeah, I feel like they were. But yeah, anyway, he gets away and no ransom is paid to the group because I think the company was still debating on even paying the ransom after 3 days.
I would fire all of them.
Well, there's board members. He's just the president, right?
Yeah, but still.
I know, yeah.
How mad would you be?
Well, he got away, so that's fine. But yeah, this is just the beginning. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end this episode. We will have all of our sources in the description, and we also have an email, so if anyone has any feedback or any questions, you can always email us. Tune in next episode will be all of the case details. There's a lot to cover, and there's a lot of twists and turns and weird stuff going on, so be sure to tune in next week.